Wednesday, word. Wednesday, word. Wednesday, word. And we are live. What's going on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube Live? It is your man, Coach Rowe. Today is Wednesday, and I'd like to welcome you to the first row. And if it is Wednesday, you should know what that means. It's time for the Wednesday word. That's Wednesday word. Jumping straight into it. Tonight's topic, I don't even have my banners ready. Tonight's topic is, make sure I have, there we go. Find the light. As always, I like to share what I mean by my topic. So what do I mean by my topic, find the light? What I mean by the topic, find the light, is really how our perspective guides how we see the world and our overall experiences. So tonight, as we talk about Tisha, that's not who we're talking about, but hey, Tish. Tonight, as we talk about finding the light, and I share tools with you regarding the tools for the first row. Sorry, Tisha completely threw me off. Thanks, Tisha. But I'm so glad you're here tonight, Tish. But tonight, as we talk about this topic, I have 3 tools that I want to share with the first row, tools for the first row that I want to share with you when it comes to finding the light. Let's jump straight into it. Tool it. Haha, I like that. Into it. Tool number 1 when it comes to finding the light is we empower either side. And so the reason why I said it's a perspective and how we see the world, and I want to kind of lean on this analogy between seeing the world for the light that it provides and seeing the world for the darkness that it provides. The world provides both aspects, light and dark, but where our focus is, or how we empower either side, is based on where our focus is. So if we're focused on the woe is me, the negative and everything, then it always feels like we're the victim, that we're not getting a fair shake, that life's not working in the way that we would love for it to work. But if we focus on the lessons and the blessings and the good that life is giving us, in spite of the bad that we still receive, because you get both, you don't just get one or the other. But if we focus on the good that we're receiving, we're in a completely different space energy-wise. And that energy that we're naturally going to give to either good or bad, light or dark, the energy that we're going to give to it now all of a sudden goes to the things that are good, because that's where our focus is. That's where our attention is. I always liken it to like either being in a car. If you have your license and you're in a car, you know what it is to be on the freeway driving straight, and then somebody says, "Oh, look over there," and you look over there and you naturally pull your car towards that direction. Our energy flows very similarly to that. Wherever we are focused on, wherever our perspective decides to focus on and pay attention to, we give energy to that. And when it may not feel like all the energy at the end of the day that we have, but we do give some energy to that. And that energy allows that space to grow, allows that space to become magnified. I remember back when I would do like research on like self-development, self-growth, inspirational speaking and things like that, there was this thing called the reticular activating system. And it was, when I was studying it, I think it was Tony Robbins who had mentioned the reticular activating system. And really what the reticular activating system is it's our ability to begin to see more of what we're focused on. And in the example that I learned this particular skill set, or learned this particular methodology, it was given with cars. And I can 100% relate, because what it said is, if you buy a Toyota, all of a sudden when you're driving on the road, it feels like you're seeing more and more Toyotas. If you buy a Honda, all of a sudden when you're on the road, it feels like you see more and more Hondas. And it makes you feel like, man, everybody's buying a Honda. Man, everybody's buying a Toyota. But the thing is that your reticular activating system identifies that your car is a Toyota, identifies that your car is a Honda. And so when your eye is scanning just naturally and maybe subconsciously, you pick up on the fact, oh, Toyota, because that is something that's going on in your mind. That is a perspective that you have adopted, and now you are actively looking for it. And so when we empower either side, either dark or bad, what we're doing is we're kind of tapping into that reticular activating system. Think about it like this. There's, especially here in Utah, we have bipolar weather. Like you can have, it feels like almost every season in the course of one day. But there's been times where I've been in California and it has been raining, but the sun has been out. And in these times, you kind of have the ability to decide what you want to focus on because you have a choice. You can say, oh man, it's raining outside. I can't do anything. Or you could say, man, the sun is shining super bright today. That's a choice. And you empower how you envision that day, or you empower how you might move through that day. Whereas a typical rainy only day where it's cloudy and gloomy, you might decide, I don't really want to go out. But when it's barely raining and there's sun's out, you might say, you know what, I'm going to go to the store and get some groceries or get some snacks, or maybe I'll go to the mall and go shopping until the rain stops. And so it creates this hopeful, the only way I could say is it creates this hopefulness within us when it comes to empowering either side, but it's neutral in regards to what's going on around us. And this is really what you're going to find tonight, is that a lot of finding the light has to do with internal work and not external circumstances. It's easy to pin and say, oh, that's negative, and to focus on that and to live that experience every day and feel like the only thing that's out there for you or out there in the world is negative. But it's a completely different thing to focus on the good and say, you know what? This is where I'm going to pay my attention to. Doesn't mean that I don't have awareness. It doesn't mean I'm ignorant or naive about the negative that the world has within it, or around it, or that may even be around my personal sphere of influence. It doesn't mean that I'm ignorant or unaware of it, but it means that I'm intentionally deciding to focus on the good. So that's tool number one, is that the light is either going to be surrounded by the darkness, or the darkness is going to be surrounded by the light, but the perspective of that comes 100% from you. Then it comes to tool number two. Tool number two when it comes to finding the light is, light is not always at the surface. Man, if I was to liken it to the easy button, and I forget if it's Office Max or Staple, but whoever has the that was easy button, sometimes finding the light is not as simple as hitting a button and ta-da, there's light. Especially if you're going through a thing like depression, or if life just kind of has hit you with a couple of left jabs and a right uppercut, you might be in a space where it's a little more difficult to find the light. But this is where digging for the light comes in. This is where positioning yourself to be in search of the light comes in. Because I could tell you, it's no different than at the end of every storm, there's a rainbow, and you can say, man, that rainbow is beautiful. Yeah, we went through some horrible weather. Recently, California was like on the verge of just being flooded everywhere in Sacramento. But at the end of the storm, and at the end of the rain, at the end of the storm, I like that, at the end of the storm, there's a rainbow. And not only is like a rainbow, physical rainbow, but like metaphorically, there's a rainbow. California, especially Northern California, has been experiencing drought after drought after drought after drought after drought. And so sometimes finding the light is like, yeah, you know, that was kind of stressful for a little bit, but we need this water. We need this rain in order to pull ourselves or dig ourselves out of the drought conditions that we've been in for the past, feels like, decade. And that's what I mean when I say the light is not always at the surface. Think about this from the ocean, the level of the ocean. There's a layer, I forget the scientific name, so bear with me here. There's different layers of the ocean, and you get so deep in the ocean at some point that there is no light. Like it's dark, it's pitch black. And the only light that's available is like bioluminescence. Yeah, it might be hard to find the bioluminescent, but once you're down there and you're in the dark fiddling around, all of a sudden you see that glowing fish. We'll never be that low. Well, not right now. I don't think we go that low just because of the pressure. But if we could go that low on a regular basis, you're stumbling around in the dark, but there is light available. You just have to find it. And that is one of the most powerful things about finding the light, is that there is always light present. It just requires for us to find it. There's always going to be, I mean, I've even seen in situations where people have passed away unexpectedly, where it's not the best of circumstances, where the family is grieving. There's always light present. Even if it's just the memory of the light that has been extinguished, there's always light that's present. And so I can't stress to you enough that if you're just thinking that you're going to cherry pick light and it's just going to be readily available for you to grab and it's going to be easy at the surface, sometimes you're going to go through some moments where you're going to feel like there's no light, and just realize in those moments are the moments where you need to dig and dig deep. Sometimes dig deep to find that source of light. And that brings us to tool number 3, that source of light, regardless of what's going on around you. And this is why I said it's intrinsic work, not necessarily external work. At the end of the day, if you can't find light externally, if you can't seem to figure out the good, or I'm going to just say find your light, become the light. That's tool number 3. Become the light. Sometimes, and there's been times in my life where it felt like everything was spinning out of control for me. And I had to really go into myself and find the light, find out the person that I am, find out the reason why I love me, find out the reason why I feel like I'm a good person, find out all these different things that bring light back to the surface. Because light, catch this, is life. Light is life. We wouldn't be able to grow the amount of produce that we grow on this planet if we didn't have light. And so be willing to become that light. Be willing, if you're in the bottom of the ocean, to be that bioluminescence, to be able to light the way, not only for yourself, but you don't know who's relying on you and might need you to shine a little light their way. When all else fails, we each contain a significant amount of light within ourselves that we actually have the ability to access as we see fit. The practice part of that is, or putting that into practice is, you have to be willing to see yourself. You have to be willing to like yourself and accept yourself. Because a lot of times where it's been a struggle for me to come out of the darkness and to even tap into my own light, it's because I didn't like who I was in that moment. I didn't like who I was. And I'm specifically saying in that moment. But when I pull back and I zoom out from who I am in the present moment to who I am across my lifetime, I'm a pretty solid person. I'm a pretty solid dude. And that person I do love. And that person is light. And that person brings life. So really quickly to go over the 3 tools with you for tonight's Wednesday word. Tool number 1, when it comes to finding the light, is we empower either side. Do your best to focus on the light. Sometimes you're going to veer off to the darkness, but catch yourself when you're veering and redirect back to the light. Tool number 2 is light is not always at the surface. Sometimes it's not going to be as easy as just blinking your eyes and there's the light. Sometimes you're going to have to do some work to get to it. And then tool number 3 is at all times you contain light. So become light if absolutely necessary. I would actually strive to be light at all times. But if you are not striving to be light at all times, become light when it's necessary and tap into your own power source to light the way for yourself and others. As always with the Wednesday word, I like to share kind of a personal story, something that got me thinking about this. Number one of my coworkers, I didn't ask, could I say their name? So I can't say their name, but one of my coworkers and I were having a conversation around this topic, and I was already in the process of thinking somewhat about this topic. So it just really brought this up faster on the Wednesday word calendar than it would have. But there was a time in my life that I was thinking about, and it was not a time of light for me. It was a time of darkness for me, where I was depressed, and I remember being suicidal and not wanting to live. And in that time, when I reflect on that time, I don't get depressed about it when I reflect on it, but I reflect on how did I get in that situation. And really what it came down to is the only thing I was focused on was what was going wrong in my life at the time. And it felt like every single thing was going wrong. And not only that it was going wrong, that it would never get better. And that's where my focus was. And I remember vividly feeling like, you know what, I think I'm going to swim out to the middle of a lake until I don't have enough energy to swim back. And then inevitably I'll drown because I won't be able to make it back. I'll just be exhausted and won't be able to make it back. And I'm not the strongest swimmer as it is. My wife will tell you. But I remember the feelings that I felt in that time. And I remember the despair, honestly, that I felt in that time, where it was just like, I need to end this because there's never going to be another light. This, it was almost like the sun in my life had set and I had never expected for it to rise again. And I think about that in the aspect of so many different things that have transpired in life since that, because I think this is like 2004, 2005. But I think about that in relation to the things that I have done in let's just say the last 10 years. If I would have ended my life in 2004 because there was no perspective of light and I didn't know how to grasp the tools to find light, I think about the impact not only to my family, not only to my children, not only to my wife, not only to the first row, but I just think about my overall arching impact that would have been lost. And I think that's really the bonus tool, is realize that your light is important. And the moment you choose to extinguish it, that beacon that could be a beacon of hope for somebody else is also extinguished. I think about first row and all the content that I've produced. I wouldn't have produced it in that time frame. I mean, that time in my life, I wasn't producing content, but to think where I am now in 2023 and all the wonderful experiences that I've had with people and all the opportunities that I've had to really glean more light from others, more light from life, and magnify the light within myself. Really, that's what finding the light is about, is finding a way to magnify light, whether it be your light or the light of another person, finding a way to magnify light. And in the darkness, there cannot exist darkness without light. So that's what I have for you guys tonight. As always, we have some upcoming content that I do want to share. I'm struggling for some reason on my technology tonight. But I did mention last week that there's a new show. It's not on the first row. It's called the L3. Let me move that out the way. It's called the L3 Perspective. It airs on Tuesdays. It's not on the first row. You'd have to go to YouTube at L3 Perspective 7. And you can catch their L3 Perspective. It's all about life, love, and leadership. I got to tell you, these shows are pretty dope. And yeah, they're pretty dope. And the people who host the show, there's 2 hosts of the show, they're pretty dope too as well. So check them out on Tuesdays. YouTube is where they're located. You can find their information here, or and they actually have like a website that you can connect to them on social media and such. If you go to their YouTube channel, it's in their I think not the comments, but the description. Yeah, because I couldn't remember the name. And then later this week, if you're a first row faithful, later this week, we will have the Terrell and Michelle and Billy Rowe live show. That will be this Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I don't know if you guys have been catching these shows, but when I tell you, these conversations are so dynamic and so recharging. You got to catch one of these shows live and jump in the comments or jump in the chat or even jump up on stage with us. But catch one of these shows live if you have the ability to. And then currently postponed or on hold right now is the Grind to Find podcast. But you can go and catch all the content that Terrell has done previously on the Grind to Find. And then you can also catch me this upcoming Wednesday for another Wednesday Word. I think that might be the last Wednesday Word for the season. As I keep saying, I'm doing 2 Wednesday Words, or 2 months of Wednesday Words, 1 month off. So 2 on, 1 off. So the month of March, I will be off from Wednesday Words. However, I'm going to put this out there now. I do have some other content that I will be releasing. I did a Financial Matters conversation. I forget what time in January, but in January on a Saturday morning, I did a Financial Matters segment on budgeting, and I will be doing another one this month on saving. And then there will be in the month of March a conversation really geared toward men. I don't know if I share this very often, but I guess I could take that down. I don't know if I share this very often, but I really have a heart for manhood and men. And so we are going to have a men talk. I don't know what the title is yet. So it's going to be a talk of men, a group of men speaking and talking about a topic. The topic that we're going to explore, very first topic that we're going to explore, is going to be that men need love too. I've been hearing a lot about men just need respect, but they don't care if you love them. And I happen to be a man, and I happen to know that I also need love, not just respect. So there's tons of stuff that's coming on the first row. we never know what's gonna come down the pipe. But I'm happy to continue to bring content to you. I'm happy to continue to bring light into the world. I thank you guys for tuning in live with me tonight. So as always, if you like this video, please share it. If you do share it, please like it. I'm happy to engage with you in the comments if you're watching, or I'm sorry, in the chat if you're watching via live chat. If you're watching the replay, happy to engage with you in the comments for the first 7 days that the content is up. After that, I move on to the next content because, we keep things rolling here at First Row. But until the next time, one love, peace, and God bless. Thanks for sitting on the first row.